Okay, still in New York now against Shamkovich,
Who is a
Leonid.
Soviet grandmaster, and of course he was very dangerous tactically, so you have to be very careful with black, especially in Benoni, which is very sharp line, always for black. So c5, d5, g6, our favorite line, of course, knight c3, d6, e4, bishop g7, bishop d3, castle. Okay, knight f3, a6. We try to play our Volga gambit, banker gambit on the other side. If he doesn't play a4, he played castle, for instance, after b5, we can give the pawn for initiative. Very nice. Yeah. So a4, yeah. A4.
For a Soviet player, right?
For a Soviet player, he didn't like the idea to be in such a defense all the time. Of course, he stopped, a4. And this is the line recommended by Bobby himself. This is the best move, bishop g4. To have time to take first in f3, and the bishop from c8, which for the moment is a little bit passive. You trade the bishop for the knight from f3, and the game is already even after the opening, immediately, The best line. Okay, f3, I took, e6, okay. So here, now I took in d5, he took with the pawn, and now a little bit strange, but the best move here is knight f d7, not the other knight. If you play immediately knight b d7, after bishop g5, white is a little bit better. But like this, it equalizes immediately for black, knight f d7. Very good move,
Why equalize? Because...
the other move, knight b d7, which is normal, white is a little bit better by playing bishop g5. It's a little bit better for white, a little.
Because of this pin here.
He is a little bit unpleasant, you see.
Yeah.
But after knight f d7, it's completely even. Knight e5, right in time, has to move the bishop, of course. And now you have time to play f5, and you stop everything with black, you see. Complete equality here. I don't say that black is better, but black has no problem at all, in such a position. Okay, so after a5, bishop d2, of course, has two bishops, and he wants to see what happens, of course.
But here, bishop g...
No, bishop g5 is even. You can even play bishop f6 if you want, and it's okay, no problem. Bishop f6, bishop h6, bishop back to g7, even,
Yeah.
But okay, he wants to give you the move. And now a5 is a little bit strange because I wanted to provoke a little bit the rest of our game. It seems that white is slightly better, but in reality, white has nothing, you see here. Of course, this move is a little bit provocative, and maybe it was even better to play immediately knight d7 and continue the game like in any other Benoni, you see. But after a5, it gives you the idea that you are a little bit better because you have a little bit more space. But black wants to trade some pieces, and any endgame is better for black because finally we have a strong knight against a weaker bishop. We'll see later on. So after knight b5, knight a6, the idea is to trade the knight with knight c7. You see? Okay. So what to do? f4, the best move, of course. Knight f7. And bishop c3, of course. Okay, after bishop c3, knight c7, this is the idea. Again, even game, but white always has the impression that he's slightly better. He's obliged to play a little bit more to try to win.
Yeah.
And that is a very bad idea for white because we come to an end game where he'll suffer in any case. We'll see. Okay, so we took back, queen c3 check, very strong. Now we have to move back because after queen f6 we are lost immediately. You lose a piece, with black, of course.
After queen f6.
Queen f6 is a very big mistake. You lose the knight from c6.
You lose the knight, yes.
c7, pardon. Okay, bishop, king g8, he took, we took. Good. So now he continues to play normal. Rook e1, of course, rook e8. Bishop f3 is very strange because the position is even, completely even. But white tries to play a little bit because he thinks that he has more space and he's better on the queen side. And we continue to play such an even game, each one, thinking something different. he thinks that for the moment he's a little bit better. Black hopes for a better endgame. That
So
happens later on, you know.
if there was a draw proposal at this moment,
It was
you-
bad for both. I mean, it was draw, of course. But for this tournament, it was important that somebody will win. So we tried to win, each one of us. I mean, he tries to win with white. I was trying to
so the
win
draw
in
wasn't
endgame
good.
for black, you know.
Understood.
Okay, so knight d8. After b6, he's completely winning. He's completely draw, but I didn't want draw anymore. Now the idea for black is to give a pawn for initiative and try to have a very strong counterplay, you see. The idea after knight d8, king h2, now we give a pawn, queen g7. Now if he takes in g7, probably still even, you know. But if he continues the game, if he takes, for instance, in a5, or
Yes.
if he plays back in d2, okay, each one has his chances and each one can try to win.
Yeah.
Okay, if he took in a5, after queen d4, probably black is already better in any position, you know,
So
even without the pawn.
you don't take this one here.
No, it's much better to play queen d4. We
To
threaten
centralize,
three pawns with queen d4. We threaten f4, c4, and b2. And much better for black already, you know.
Yeah.
So, okay, he played queen d2, I played b6, g3, and now again we give a pawn, queen d4. Why is much better? Because we come to an endgame where our knight will be much stronger than his bishop. We'll see later on. It will. We can demonstrate it very easily with black because the most natural moves and some small weaknesses in any position in endgame for white. Very difficult to play like this in any case with time trouble again. You know?
So you mean like this
If he took the pawn, okay, he can take the pawn, later on try to take the pawn from d4.
Yeah.
Okay, we give the pawn, but we give the pawn trying to come with the knight
On C4,
in a very
C5.
active position in c5. And that's it's enough to try to win any endgame, you see. Okay, so we play h5, we provoke again, very big time trouble, I told you. And now he couldn't resist, he comes with the king
Closer.
on the central square, you know, and tries to come to an endgame. Okay, after knight f7 again, what to do with white? Very big time trouble. Of course, I agree, the game is still even, but it has to be very careful, you know. It's still a little bit better for black already here, you know, because we took the line, you see. So now he could take in d4, he takes, black takes in d4, and rook d1. But now after rook d1, black loses the pawn from d4, but has a winning endgame. Finally, you know. So now we can demonstrate why, you see. Okay, rook e3. What to do? He has to take the pawn, no? Okay, and now finally after rook b3, everything is almost forced, but very easy. We attack the pawn from the b2. What to do? Rook d2, the only move, no? Okay, now, rook b4, we attack both pawns, has to protect rook c2, or bishop e2, rook c2. And now finally, okay, I could take immediately in a4, but it's much better to come immediately with the knight in c5. And later on, we retake the pawn. Okay, knight b7, g4, but it's too late now. We can trade twice in g4, he takes, and now finally knight c5. Now we look at the position is completely winning for black, you know? Except the fact that he's in very big time trouble, but position is completely winning for black in any case because our pieces are much better, you know, the king is better, the knight has a fantastic position in c5, and the rook is very strong on b4. Any endgame is hopeless for white, you know. So rook d1, bishop d1, knight d3, Zugzwang. We attack everything. a4, b2, f4.
Wow.
Completely winning for black. What to do? After knight d3, well, probably the only move. So now we take in b2. Now again everything is hanging. The bishop from d1, the pawns from c4 and from a4. What to do? So bishop e2. And now after bishop, we took the pawn. Now, okay, now it's clear.
Yeah, he gave up on the queen.
Well, he had now. And now after knight c5, look at, we took back our pawn. We have a pawn.
Yes.
Winning endgame, and the pawn, the free pawn from a5.
Yes.
Any player would win against a very strong grandmaster, such a position, you know. So, okay. Rook b3, bishop g4, a few moves more in time term. After g5, he has to play back. No? a4. Okay.
No, he resigned.
He resigned. Well, it's very, very sad, the position. It's no move at all, you know. Even here, for instance, we can attack the bishop, you see, with rook d3, and has no time to take in a4 because rook a3 and loses a piece.
Yes.
Yeah. So, of course, he resigned. But it's very funny because it seems that black had nothing.
Yeah.
But finally, in a few moves, he had completely winning endgame, you know. The idea to give a pawn for a very strong initiative was very strong for black and completely correct, you know. So, therefore, the game was interesting, even if it was simply enough, you know.
Yeah, but...
if he played normally, okay, he could have an even game until the end.
This was possible also because the rook can arrive here on b5 and
Yes,
on b4?
Yes, of course, because everything is very, very passive for white, very active for black, you know.
Yes.
Even if you give the pawn, but you give the pawn for a very strong initiative. And you, of course, you can take back the pawn later on. But the moment you arrive with the knight, instead of having the knight without play from d8, you have the knight with a fantastic play in c5. When you arrive in c5, the position is finished for white. It's completely winning, you know.
Yeah.
It's a very good demonstration of strategical play for black, you know. Yeah. So therefore, the game was very important because of this high level between grandmasters is, you know, it's a little bit rare to have something like this, you know. Yeah. Coming out of nothing, almost from nothing, you see. And balanced, the game was balanced. In one moment, it's completely unbalanced and it's completely winning for black or for white, you see. You can prove the difference, you see.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're